Welcome to another episode of the How to Do Your 20s podcast. And in this episode, we're talking about how to get into the arts, how to kind of go away from the traditional path and do something that you're really passionate about. And I have the members of Puppet Shakespeare here, and they're a trio, a troupe, or they is a troupe, depending on how, if it's plural, singular. Nobody knows. And they do Shakespeare plays with puppets in the New York area, correct?
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, first off, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem, Travis. Thank you.
So how did you guys get started in this? This seems like a very random thing to get started into.
All right, so there's a mythical tale that goes with this. We'd always been Shakespeare nerds from college sort of thing, and comedy nerds in a sense, the three of us. We all had different sort of focuses, but found that comedy and Shakespeare were where we sort of all came together. And we had done this, or we had been in this Hamlet at the American Globe Theater, actually. And, when you think Hamlet, you think very brooding, very, dark. But this show was so funny. And Ryan specifically called this one guy in the show a puppet. He was like,
a Muppet,
yeah. The guy who was playing Polonius, he said, man, he's just a Muppet. And there was sort of this light bulb of, hey, why don't we just do Hamlet with puppets? And then it became...
it was originally going to be Muppet Hamlet, but we can't say the word Muppet.
Yeah. No, we're puppets.
So it became... Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And then we were... There was a night where we were on the FAO Schwartz website where you can build the... build your own whatnots.
Oh, yeah.
And we were having a great time making the characters. And... I decided that I was like, hey, maybe I'll try and make the puppets and we'll see what happens. And I made a couple, and then we did the show. That was basic. And then after that, we just started finding our groove.
And I originally auditioned for the show. This was kind of really on Ryan and AJ. We're coming up with this, and I got a Facebook invite to audition, and I was like, this sounds amazing. And I've just clatched onto their nipples since then.
What is clatched?
Yeah,
it's a clatch. It's where you latch onto with your mouth.
Oh,
It's a clamp and a latch onto your nips.
So post-college, did you guys even think about getting like a regular corporate job or anything like that, or you just went headfirst into this?
I mean, just like a job to survive, really. Like that was...
Every job I've ever had has felt like a survival job. I don't think there was ever a point where any of us really got, well, I don't know, I might be wrong, but if ever gotten like a 9-to-5 where it's like, I'll be here forever. I think it's always been like, it's something stable or it's to help you get through there, and then you're hoping to get to the next project that makes you feel alive again.
Yeah, it's always been something that, you can pay your rent with, but also allows you to do the thing, do the thing you're passionate about. Yeah, there was no corporate 9-to-5 right out of college.
And
was it worked at Ripley's Believe It or Not for a while.
You worked at Ripley's Believe It or Not for a while.
Yes, not corporate, but surviving.
Gotcha. Was it tough? Like, did your parents kind of say like, hey, you need to, take your life a little bit more seriously, or did they support you the whole way?
Mine are very supportive.
Yeah, I think we all three of us have parents that were just kind of, they know that we're not going to be happy unless we're doing something we're passionate about. And, I know specifically my parents are just happy when I'm happy with what I'm doing. So
both AJ and Shane also have parents in the industry, quote unquote. So they sort of have a more, like non-traditional view of what's good to do in life.
Yeah, my dad's basically a professional drag queen in one sense or another. So I don't think he can put down any dreams or aspirations. I don't think he's allowed to. So it's like, whatever you want, son, follow your dreams. And you really, it's puppets with Shakespeare? And they're like, yeah, sure, that's my dream. He's like, okay, then go do it, whatever that may be. I will say there were times where, I think the one point AJ wanted us to get a big, you guys both wanted it, I think, to make a big bus. It was going to be a big
We are still going to do this.
And they want to drive around the country and do Shakespeare shows with just a trunk of puppets.
No,
Not
And
a trunk,
it's
a big
bus.
bus.
It's a
With
bus
a
of
mustache.
puppets with a mustache.
And it transforms into a stage.
Yeah, it's a transformer bus.
And the biggest debate is whether or not that is a thing. Whether if you could just build a bus with a mustache and just travel around and live.
We're
like
in our 20s, Shane. We follow our dreams and we make things things that aren't things.
I don't know if my dream is to travel the country in a bus with a mustache on it.
So
Like,
you need better
okay.
themes.
Wait a minute, question then for you guys. When you first had this idea of doing the Puppet Shakespeare, what was the first thing like you guys did? Did you just perform in public, or did you right away have venues?
So
Puppet Hamlet.
our first stop, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we were doing a bunch of productions that were just sort of random plays written by our friends, stuff we liked, whatever. And then
And it was more traditional. It was actors on stage,
15-minute play festival.
yeah,
that
wasn't,
sort of thing.
it didn't have any puppets or anything, but we were just doing stuff that Ryan and I, that we wanted to produce, and with the people that we met in college, then we wanted to give them opportunities.
Right. And so that, one idea we had for random production, as AJ was telling you the tale, was Puppet Hamlet. So we went and did this Puppet Hamlet, and something about it was just awesome. First of all, the house was unbelievably packed. Like, I think we had a 65-seat house with like 99 people in it.
Yeah.
So
So
when you
question
kind of
actually.
hit that thing, yeah, go ahead.
As an outsider, so do you approach the venue and say, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do. Do you like it? Do you not like it?" Or did you already know the people?
I wish. The thing is with theater is that the power is all in the hands of the people above you. Like, it's very hard to sort of like make these kind of deals because the venues just don't need to.
Yeah, you're
So-
renting the space from them. So as long as you're not doing something that they're completely against, usually you can rent the space and you do what you want.
And there are some venues that do like artistic partnerships, but I don't think we've done any of those yet, except for with the American Globe.
Yeah.
But they most of the time when you're going into a theater space, it's a rent type situation. You need to have some money. You pay for this much for this time. You put down a deposit. You get insurance. You have to have a fire marshal, right? And it's more of a business agreement than it is an artistic agreement. I think in the hopeful next steps that we should be maybe combining with the theater to work out some kind of deal, because that's probably the best case scenario for a theater company, is to have a place that likes you, wants you there, feels like you represent their space, and you feel like their space works for your show, and that would be great. But I think in the earlier stages, you're really looking at paying rent, and that's about it.
Okay, so it's basically you pay X amount of money, let's say just $1,000, and then you charge $50 per tickets, and you need to make sure you sell at least 20 tickets to break even, and then you hope obviously to sell more or less.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
that's
the idea.
basic. Yeah, that's the basic concept.
But there's many other aspects to it as well. For instance, we just finished a show that was a very big success, and we certainly didn't turn a profit on it, but it was still a success because our goal wasn't to turn a profit. So sometimes you do a show that's just for publicity purposes so that you can get noticed, or as something that the industry people call a backers audition, where you're putting it up in front of potential investors who, if they like it, will help you scale it up into a bigger thing.
And like when we did our show was at Theater Row, and we were in the same building at the same time as this show Atomic. And I know I've talked about this show a lot, but they had a bunch of money from the Australian government, and if my math is right, and I think it is, there was almost no way of them making their money back in Theater Row. But the hope is a lot of times is that you make a show that becomes like a Wicked or a show that's going to tour around, and people will buy to put at their high school. People will buy scripts and T-shirts, and you want to become like a theatrical phenomenon. Unfortunately, in theater, it's really tough to turn ticket sales into paying for the show in a short time period. There's just a lot of different factors that go into it that just make it more and more expensive. And then advertising on top of it nearly, doubles your budget sometimes, or adds another 33% if you want to try to get strangers into your shows. So theater can be really tough like that to break even.
So do you have backers, or do you guys put the money out of pocket and hope to get the return later down the road?
We used to put money out of pocket. Now we have backers.
And by we, it's mostly Ryan Wrinkle here.
Well, yeah, I'm a part of the we, but yes. It's just, the thing about theater is that it's an incredibly expensive business to scale. You can't, if you go and write an app, you publish it to millions of people for free. If you go and create a show, you publish it to hundreds of people at extreme expense. So it's like, it's not like a YouTube video, even a YouTube video, it's an audience of millions, if not billions, just by putting it up. And the same is not true of a show. So in order to scale up, you have to spend the money on the bigger theater, on the bigger advertising budgets, etc. And at those higher scales is really where the industry makes money.
It's also it's like a very fleeting art form because it's only up for so long. So it's not like a movie or a
YouTube
a TV
video,
show where
Podcast.
they're getting residuals or it's playing all the time and so many people can see it. It's, it's only happening for so many days and only so many people are ever going to be able to see it. So,
which also makes it cool. It makes it a completely
love
unique art form because it's not like a YouTube video where it happens the same every time. Once we do it, it ceases to exist right as it's happening.
And we like to try to make our show a little bit different every time you see it to try to make it that worthwhile, because that's the one thing you can get from theater that you can't get from film or podcasts or anything. That everything else, every time you see it, it's going to be exactly the same. So with our shows, we try to make it a little special, go into the audience, talk to audience members, improvise here and there, try to make it something that's really only exists one night and then it's gone forever.
So from the time that you guys book a place to the final performance, what kind of challenges do you guys face? Like, what are some obstacles that you need to overcome?
Well, it usually feels like the obstacles are before that, because once you sort of lock in the venue, you sort of have your trajectory and then you're just on it. But what we have to do between that time is rehearse the show, make sure we have enough time to rehearse the show, which you never do.
Never feels like it, at least.
Yeah, right. We have to, AJ is working hard that whole time making puppets and tweaking puppets, and a lot of times the puppets are custom designed for the actors that we've put in the role. So it's sort of a balancing act between, I shouldn't be talking about this, I should pass this over to AJ, and I will in a second, but I think it's a balancing act between casting the character for what we see and then creating a puppet for what the actor brings to the show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the challenge before, because the three of us do a lot of planning and a lot of work before the first read through ever happens, before the first rehearsal ever happens, and it's, I mean, for me at least, the casting is usually one of the hardest things because we're looking, the people that we have a very unique way of working, and we always want to make sure that we have the right people to help us get to where we want to be, and are also open enough to our rehearsal process is very open, a very safe place. So we want to make sure everybody is comfortable with each other and that they're willing to learn and willing to sort of grow with us until we get to that final product and that final show, which doesn't usually, like, opening night is not the final product.
Oh yeah, the show changes.
It changes drastically a couple weeks, and then once those couple weeks are up, then it seems to start locking in, and we know it, because we do go to the audience, we do interact with people. We can only rehearse so many things, so many bits until the audience gets there. We don't know if it's going to work, So that's another challenge, I think, is in rehearsal, trying to pretend or trying to see what the audience might be, but you can't do that until they get there.
Essentially everything.
Yeah.
And as producers, we end up wearing many hats. And to me, that's the toughest thing, is that we kind of have to do a little bit of everything, if not everything. And then, so Ryan's directing, and then me and AJ are in the show. So while we're in the show and also rehearsing and having to learn our lines, we might also be out on the street marketing in Times Square, or making videos, recording podcasts, designing logos, approving T-shirt designs, like whatever they may be. It all kind of comes to us at the end, and and that's the toughest thing, is because a lot of times things fall through the cracks because we'll be so focused on the show, we'll forget that we didn't print out playbills or design playbills or something.
That's always the thing we forget.
Yeah. There was a time where we were like, wow, we've got a bunch of extra money. Like, let's go spend it on advertising. Let's go get posters put up. And then we realized we forgot to put down one of our deposits on the theater. So we were like down a bunch of money. So it's always this thing where it's like we have to keep track of every single thing between marketing, production, performance, puppeteering, online content, digital. It's all one big massive glob that the three of us basically have to manage.
So speaking of marketing, what methods do you find work the best for promoting the production? First
things first, have awesome content. That is the new rule of the internet. If what you make is cool enough, people will come and it will be talked about. Now, the main problem with theater, as we were kind of talking about earlier, is it's not a YouTube video, so you need to find a way to translate your cool to the internet, if that makes sense. So if you can produce something that gets the essence of your cool onto the internet, then you're good. The most successful marketing thing that we ever did was actually a Kickstarter. And we did this Kickstarter to raise money to film a show. And we asked for $1,000. We were just going to do something a little ghetto. And we ended up raising 3 times that because Kickstarter thought our idea was so good that they put it on their main page, and then a bunch of people saw it. And that single thing is pretty close to the most eyeballs we've ever gotten on our project. More eyeballs than the video we actually produced with the money from the Kickstarter.
I think the New York Times review helps more.
I was about to say, no, because that was next on my list.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Also, in theater, and especially in the arts, if you can find the internet in real life, which is the press, things like the New York Times, they can help spread your idea in much the same fashion. It's funny because it's like how business worked in 1950 in 2015, but that's the nature of the game for theater. And so those reviews and any way you can kind of get your content across virally is, I think, the most important thing for marketing.
To put it in perspective, when our first the New York Times review came out at the end of our 3rd week of performances, and our last week we did 4 weeks at the row. Our 4th week, we made about the same amount of money we made in the prior 3 weeks. And we're pretty sure it's just straight from word of mouth and the New York Times review. There's really not anything else that changed that much in that time period. And everyone we've talked to about it really says that good reviews, specifically the New York Times, unfortunately / fortunately for us, can be the kiss of death or the kiss of life. And in theater, it's so much about word of mouth, both critically and socially, that we're really just hoping we have something people will talk to their friends about and like enough and are passionate enough about that. It's just like, this show was great, go see it, and then they will. And they'll see the review and they'll just do it. There's nothing better than one of your friends telling you should go see it, in my opinion.
How did you get them to cover you guys?
We hired a publicist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if you want me to talk about publicity in theater.
Sure, let's go a little bit in there.
Okay, well, it's a madhouse, and if I had short snippet of advice for anybody going into it, it would be hire the most expensive one, because they're probably legit. There's an army of cheap, like extra bedroom publicists out there, and they will do nothing for your company. And it's better to just sort of go mainstream if you can. And if you can't, I would suggest not doing it at all and working it yourself as best you can. We found our publicist in a pretty cool way, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's strange as we kind of had a publicist who we won't drop names, but he wasn't doing enough for us, to say the least. And we were frustrated. And while me and AJ and my mom, who was doing the costumes for our show, actually, were walking around, I was venting about our publicist and what a crappy job he was doing. And I actually don't care if he hears this. And I was venting about it, and the guy walking in front of us on the street turned around and said, "You guys need a publicist." And we were like, "Yeah, maybe, because our current publicist isn't answering our emails." And he just said, "Well, I'm a publicist. What do you guys do?" And his name is Constantine, and he just turned to be basically a godsend, for lack of a better word, because he brought us into his company, which is Corey Hay PR, which is a big publicity company. And they did work for us for little. They really tried to make it work for us, and they did as much as they could in our budget, and with really the hopes of us becoming a bigger thing and constantly using them. And as we would grow, hopefully our involvement with them would grow more. And we have actually, I think, what we call a good relationship with them. They like us, and they wish us the best, and they kind of just are hoping to keep us around just so that when we do need publicity, we'll be turning to them, and we can have a good working relationship with them. And it's been wonderful.
It's a very New York thing that could happen. But if you don't happen to just walk around venting about your publicist, what I would do is Google local productions, and they will always have a thing on there that says like media contact, press contact, something like that. Go there, see who their press contact is. Copy paste that email, search it, and you'll find a publicity company that's worthwhile that way.
Don't just like take them. You got to do your research. If you've seen that, you need to talk to people that have worked with them, other theater companies that have worked with them, because they have all the contacts for the people that are going to come see your show, and that's why you pay them. You pay them for their contacts basically, and the work that they should be doing. But you got to do the research. Like if they're not, if they're not getting good reviews, don't spend the money. Find somebody else.
So I want to shift gears here a little bit. Before I do, any other advice for someone that has a production that they kind of want to get off the ground, or that wants to go down this path?
I mean, you just got to dive in. You got to surround yourself with creative people that are supportive, and that all have the same goal, and sit down, figure it out, and just, you can't really take no for an answer, especially around, especially here in the indie theater business. It's like, if you don't just keep pushing yourself and keep getting yourself out there, it's never going to happen.
Be passionate. Passion is infectious, and that's literally the one thing that can make a company, is if you get a bunch of people who are willing to put in the work and the hours and the rehearsal time for the little money or to the no money that you have, and then willing to go out on the street and market, willing to ask for the favors of people to print out postcards for you. It's a lot of asking for favors. It's a lot of talking to people. Just be nice, be passionate, and hope for the best. And
Preach it, brother.
Right? Baby,
They can't use any of that.
Was that too long of an explanation?
A bit.
Okay.
You said be passionate. I was like, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
and then you were like,
cut.
and be nice.
And do this.
But true
And do
though,
that.
be nice. Because no one wants to work with an asshole. If you're nice,
Yeah.
people will
Don't
want
we
to
know.
work with you.
Cool. So I guess the next thing I kind of want to talk about is why get involved with the arts as opposed to, I'm a very business, left brain kind of person. Why get involved with the arts as opposed to just making as much money as possible or something like that?
No reason. If you want to make money, go start an e-commerce store. Trust me.
Don't go into the arts looking for money.
But if you love the arts and you love Shakespeare or whatever, do it. Because it's more important to have something that when you wake up and you have to put in a 20-hour day that day, you're not going to do it if you don't love it, And we do love it, so that's what we do.
Yeah, and I mean, we're in a society where money seems like it's everything to people, and for us, that just doesn't translate. It's you want to wake up and you want to be happy with what you're doing and be excited about your life, and like you said, if you're passionate about something, your mental health and your happiness is not worth more. It's not worth anything. It's worth more than any money you could ever have, I think,
Yeah.
personally.
Absolutely, he's right. And I just want to throw out there that you can make money in this business. It's just
It takes a while.
incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Like it just takes, and it's all about the scale thing. Like if you want to make money with an e-commerce store, you put your e-commerce store up there and you have millions of potential eyeballs. The same is not true for theater, and you have to be creative about how to beat problems that other people just simply don't have.
Great.
Yeah, and
answer.
it's not a fast process either. You're not going to be discovered. It's like if you're discovered and you become Batman for, Warner Brothers, it's because you won the lottery. That's not going to happen.
Yes.
You got to put in the work. That's the other thing is we like to work. We like this work and we like to do the work. If you don't, or if you're not willing to put in the work and you think it's just going to happen, then maybe you should go start an e-commerce store and,
This guy started.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
E-commerce stores are
Oh
great.
God, e-commerce stores are great. I'm just not that they're not any work. No. Oh God, I'm sorry.
It's a little bit harder than you might think, but okay.
Oh no. I
no,
was just saying,
it's-
like if you.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
Right.
It's just a scale. It's a scale issue.
yeah. No, I think that's awesome. I completely agree with everything you guys said about the passion part. And obviously, different people have different things that are passionate about. But if you're not doing what you're really interested in, what you really love doing, you're kind of wasting your life. It's
Exactly. Yeah.
money
That's
can only
why-
take you so far.
Yeah.
It's true.
But I'd like to have some still.
Yeah, there's absolutely a balance, and that's one of the first episodes I actually did was a guy that had multiple millions of dollars. He was, according to him, having sex with lots of attractive women. Yeah, well, the point is like everything that like a red-blooded American guy is supposed to want and he had it. He was extremely depressed, like ready to commit suicide. Gave away all his money and went and just lived a life similar to like a monk for a little while. And he finally realized, he thought that, oh, this money's making me unhappy. And he finally realized, no, it's not the money. It's what you do with the money and how he was getting the money. And I think that's so wise because it's
You realize that after he gave away all the millions?
exactly. But
Oh, wait a second. It wasn't the money.
exactly. So actually, you guys said that you might do a little bit of a puppet Shakespeare.
He makes him right here. Yeah.
This guy.
AJ does.
Yeah.
He's our father.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you,
too.
Dad.
Oh,
I
it's
love
so weird
you.
hugging the man in my back.
He's inside of you. He's inside of all
He's
of us.
inside of all of us.
He's the puppet god.
He's like Jesus.
Puppet Jesus.
Ah,
But way more blood.
with a beautiful beard.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Better beard than Jesus. I'll say it.
Travis,
I
what
don't
do you
care,
sell
so-
on your website?
What dance clothing?
Dance clothing.
Oh,
Frank's a dancer.
I am.
Oh, yeah.
Can I have a tunic? I keep ripping all mine in the nipple area.
He's got really sharp nipples.
I got sharp nipples. Every time I do a oh no, I ripped the tunic.
Oh, the
Oh, no.
toga.
Oh, needle nips, they used to call me.
Yeah.
Old needle nips.
Yeah.
Oh, Catholic schoolboys are so cruel.
Are you a dancer?
No, not at all. I love the business part, the marketing part, all that part. My mom, I'm actually co-owners with my mom, and she, the faces are killing me. She's the one that does all the dance like the clothing production, and she's been doing it for 20 years. So we basically started a company, and yeah, it's a little bit. She used to do custom clothing. Now it's like the basic pieces. So it's hard to have a serious conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
sorry.
understand. It's something so silly as dance clothing.
But that's really sweet that your mom wants to work with you still.
Oh, that is sweet. My mom doesn't talk to me anymore.
Yeah. Our mothers, they got together and they left.
They were like, you know what? Screw these kids.
Yeah. Shakespeare. Yeah, you can't make any money with that. Why don't you go make dance clothing is what my mom said. Clearly she knew your mom.
Oh
think
God,
so.
you're making us look bad, Travis.
What? I think I look pretty good. I can see myself.
No,
now.
I mean like a morally bad, or like with making us look like bad boys.
Oh, yeah.
But girls love the
Wish I
bad
was a
boys.
boy.
It's
Right?
true.
You would
Yeah.
think so. I tell all the girls, hey, my mom moved out. No, they don't come home. They don't come home with me. Doesn't work.
What the hell are you talking about?
Because I'm telling them I'm a bad boy. I go, hey, I'm in timeout still, and I'm at a bar. And no, nothing.
Past
They
your
don't
bedtime.
Oh boy. So
Are we being interviewed? Or are we
Yeah.
just shooting the shit? What's going on?
I
Delete
thought we were
that,
just shooting the
please.
shit until your buddy got back with the other puppet.
he's a wizard. Look at him. Let down your hair, Ryan. Let it down. Show Travis.
Oh, the power!
Oh!
I can feel it!
Oh! Oh God! Oh! Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, there's an electric field surging
Oh.
about us.
Yeah, so he's a wizard. He's a magical Shakespeare directing wizard.
So
And marketing wizard.
And
And producing wizard.
and semi-pro online card player.
It's true.
So what percentage of the show is like you guys doing the real Shakespeare plays versus like going and interacting with the audience?
60-40.
60.
That was a quick one.
Yeah.
60-40?
60 Shakespeare, 40% us doing stuff we feel like.
You know, the more I think about it, that might be right.
Yeah.
You want some Shakespeare?
Sure.
What? Let's see. What do we know any scenes?
Oh,
We
God.
never have a scene together.
Yeah, I know. We never did.
Toby or not Toby?
That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler. That's all I know.
The stuff.
The slings and arrows
Who hits people with slings?
of outrageous fortune which you can make by selling dance clothing online.
Oh man, that makes me want to kill myself.
No, don't you give
I
away all your money and become a monk. That's what Travis is.
don't even have any money and I'm depressed. What does that guy's story mean to me?
Maybe he should give you the money and then you can see if.
Dude, is that guy still a millionaire? Or what's going on with him? Who is he? What's he doing?
No, he actually gave away all the money just to random people. You could have been one of them.
Oh, he didn't. Frank, no. Stop it, Frank.
Why do you tell me something like that?
No, Frank.
We
please.
have a thing. We need funding.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So what's your guys' favorite Shakespeare production to put on?
Oh God. My
Oh.
favorite is Hamlet, because I'm a mole. I don't know if you can tell. I have weird claw hands, and I like to dig. And there's a grave digger in Hamlet, and there's a skull that we found, and his name was Yorick. And I always like to smell the skull because it smelled like potpourri.
You're weird. It didn't smell like potpourri to me. It smelled like poo-pooey.
Potpourri?
Poo-pooey. Double poo.
What's your favorite, Frank?
Oh, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, he's a romantic.
I'm a romantic. I got to play the messenger, and the messenger is like the R2-D2 of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
Because, without R2-D2, there's no Star Wars,
it's true.
right?
And Chewbacca. Don't forget Chewbacca.
Chewbacca doesn't do anything
What
important.
are you talking about?
He doesn't do anything important. All he
He
does
was
is
the Wookiee
grab.
like that to Han Solo.
What does that do? How does that change
He
the
saved
plot?
his life, and then he puts C-3PO back together,
Ben, you're belittling my point.
and he
You're
doesn't
belittling
trust Lando Calrissian.
You just like him because you're both hairy.
Yeah.
You just like the furry guys. You always like the furry guys.
It's true.
But R2-D2,
Well, I like Russell Crowe.
he's like, hey, Mark Hamill, you gotta go save this lady or whatever. No, wait, Obi-Wan. I don't know. It's been a while. Point is, in the Romeo and Juliet, if I don't invite Romeo to that party, no play.
No play at
No
all.
play. I
And
gotta come
everybody-
in there.
Actually, now that I think of it, if you didn't invite him, everybody would live.
Oh my God. I done some terrible things. I done terrible things.
Oh God.
What is it? Oh,
Oh man.
oh God, my heart. Everybody would have lived.
All right,
Juliet. I like to consider myself a romantic.
Yeah.
I love it. So I want to wrap things up because I know you guys got to get going soon. So any last advice for the 20-somethings out there, the listeners?
Be true to who you are deep down inside.
Yeah, go get him. There's never going to be a better time.
It's true.
If you're doing things you like doing, just be appreciative of it. You're doing a fun thing. Don't get all bogged down in the nonsense. Chances are things are gonna suck a bunch. Just go with it. Let it suck. Let it suck till the end of days.
Yeah. You have
Eventually-
time.
Eventually
You're
it'll
not-
get good, right? It won't just suck
Yeah.
forever, right?
Yeah.
It only sucks forever if you think it sucks forever.
I think most importantly is you have fun and you gotta laugh, because if you don't, you're gonna go crazy.
That's more what I mean.
Yeah.
I love
fun.
it, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Travis. Thank you for inviting us, man.
Thanks for having us.
Did we answer any of your questions?
You answered all the questions. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, make sure you hit the big red subscribe button down below. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter, and I release a new video every Monday, and by hitting that subscribe button, you'll get those new videos every Monday. And this is really a podcast. It's also a website. You can check out the website. It's howtodoyour20s.com. I'll put a link right over here as well. And what it's all about is trying to improve your life. And we specifically focus on things that people in their 20s are interested in. So make sure you like the video if you liked it. Subscribe. Like us on Facebook and Twitter, whatever. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again on another video.